Alrighty, folks. Today I'm working with this older Arabian mare. As I've said before, I really don't know the extent of her training. She hasn't been very bridle wise. She didn't know how to stop too good or back up, but you can ride her around. I taught her to bend, and I've been riding her out quite a bit. Her biggest issue is she is just anxious. So I've been doing a lot of groundwork with her. She really doesn't have any connection to the rider. She's more concerned about getting back to the other horses. I wouldn't call her buddy sour, but she's just real anxious, especially by herself. So she's always been used to being in a crowd, I think, but she doesn't rely upon the rider very much. And here I'm just trying to work her through these tires and get her to pay attention to me and not really just blow and go through them. Just get a little bit more connection with me and get a little bit more focused on me, because I think that's the stem of her anxiety. She just doesn't have very much self-confidence and doesn't have very much confidence in whoever's riding her. So here I'm working her over some tarps, and one of the misconceptions, I think, of people when you're out there working over obstacles and around scary objects is that you're trying to get the horse through the obstacle or over the obstacle, and the whole point of it is to get a better connection with the horse and to get in contact with the horse's mind, make that connection, and get the horse to think about where they're putting their feet and get the horse to think about what they're doing. So here I am using a flag. She's pretty flighty about certain things like plastic bags and stuff like that. So particularly when it's in the handler's hand. So there's 3 different steps that I go through when I'm working with an anxious horse. And the first one is what we call exposure. I'm exposing the horse to the scary object. And here she doesn't know what she's supposed to do. She thinks that she should run away, and I just keep the same rhythm until the horse stops their feet. I'm not chasing her with it. I'm not trying to touch her with it. I'm just making the noise. And the overall idea here is not to get the horse over the flag, but it's to instill a good release of pressure anytime the horse is excited. So she stopped her feet, so I'll just come in and rub her with it, and I'll go back to flopping it, moving it back and forth, and I'll get a little closer to her each time. And it's very important to have the horse on a loose rein, let them express themselves, and then get over it. This is a good pattern of behavior. You're always looking for the horse to try and figure things out. If you trap the horse, if you tie the horse up, or you hobble the horse, and they're not allowed to express themselves and figure it out that this thing is not going to eat them, then you have a horse that's just emotionally confined, and usually a horse like that's going to blow up eventually. So my next step here is just to get closer and closer to her, get her more comfortable with it, and I'll just move her around. And what I'm doing as I am getting closer and closer to her is I will have her back up and I will disengage her hindquarters. Now, years ago, we used to just let them run around and around and around until they kind of got tired of it. With these hotter horses, it usually doesn't work as good. So what I have taken and developed over the years is just to have them disengage their hindquarters and to back up. And once you do that, you disengage their flight mechanism where they want to react and just run away. And reverse is probably the hardest gait direction for a horse. They don't like to back up. So I just ask her when she gets excited to back up and disengage her hindquarters. And this is a good release of pressure for her. It's something that when I'm on her back, and if she decides to be scared of something, it's a mechanism that I can employ to keep her and myself safe. So I never want to let a horse just go around and around and around. If a horse starts going forward, I'll back them up, and I use the same pattern to get a horse over fly spray or get a horse over clippers or whatever the horse is scared of. If you can disengage that mind from that flight instinct, then you're going to be better off. So here I am on the other side of the horse, and you can tell it's a whole different side of a horse. She's experiencing it all over again, and I'm just backing her up, giving her a little bit of a bump on the nose and letting her disengage her hindquarters, and I just keep my rhythm up. You never want to attack a horse with whatever it is that you're using to desensitize, and I really don't like to use the word desensitize. We've used it a lot over the years, and it's not about desensitizing the horse to an object. You really want to make it about putting good mechanisms into the horse to where they can cope with pressure. That's the whole thing that this horse is feeling here. They're feeling pressure when you expose them to these objects and these tools that we use, and they're wanting to get away from it, so their flight instinct kicks in and they're wanting to escape. So what we've got to do as trainers is give them good habits to follow, give them good processes to follow. Horses are habitual, so if we give them good habits, then they'll take and they'll follow those. And the more we do the same thing the same way, the more the horse is going to follow. They're going to follow those habits and follow those procedures, and the horse is going to be a whole lot better horse for it. That's the whole goal of using a scary object with a horse. We call it desensitizing, but if your whole purpose is to desensitize a horse, then you're going to have to desensitize them to everything in life. I would much rather have a tool in my toolbox that I instill in the horse when I'm training the horse, that I can take and cope with anything that comes up out there in the real world. And that's what this is about. It's not about trying to get her over the flag. It's trying to just get her to follow some good behaviors and some good habits to where she's manageable and she is predictable. As long as you have those things in your training box, your training toolbox, then when you get out there in the real world, the horse is just going to be a whole lot more manageable. If not, you're just going to be at the mercy of the horse, and the horse is going to do what it wants to do, and usually that's bad. So it'll get you in trouble or get you hurt. So here I'm just going to saddle her up here, tighten up the cinch. I'm going to get on her. And she's really tense. It's hard to tell unless you really pay attention to the video. She is walking short. She takes short steps. She even breathes short. So she has a lot of tension in her body. She's really not too sure about the rider. She tries to do what she thinks is best, and she's just real tense. She's kind of like a horse that's right on the edge of bucking all the time. She just has a lot of anxiety in her body, and she doesn't move free. She doesn't breathe free. And those are the things I look for when I get on a horse. I want a horse to relax when I'm on them, not just be uptight. If I were to guess, I would say that in her background, somebody just got on her and pushed her through things, and they really didn't care for her emotional state. And we have to be thinking about that. It's not just about, getting a horse to do what we want. It's about making the horse comfortable with what we want to do. No matter what horse I'm riding, I do a lot of circles, and the whole purpose of the circles is to bring balance to the horse. I'm trying to get her to relax, soften her rib cage, soften her head and neck, move her hips, and just get her to relax. And she really doesn't. She really doesn't take and calm down and relax about it. She's backing up better than she was before. She's stopping better than she was before. And she is following her nose pretty good, but she's real stiff in her head and neck. She's stiff through her rib cage, and she just has a hard time relaxing. You see her right in here. She's walking really short, really choppy, and really is not that calm about me being on her. She's never reared with me. She has crow hopped with me. She's bucked around when she's gotten mad. She doesn't like doing what I call tight work. She doesn't like circles. She would rather just go. And when she does go, she's not real fluid. She will lope off, but she's not real fluid. And there again, I think that's a whole lot of that has to do with her just being anxious about the whole situation. She's moving really tight, and I've checked her back. I've done a lot of things with her, stretching her, first one thing another, and I don't think she has any kind of physical problems. She's just anxious and doesn't enjoy the process. And there again, I believe that's because of her prior training, whatever it was. So she's backing up a little bit better. The more you back her up, the worse she gets. She doesn't like to keep doing the same thing the same way. You have to know when to quit her. But once I can take and get a little bit of something better out of her, I get her to drop her head, then I'll quit her. That's going to wrap it up for this little session with this horse. Thank y'all for stopping by. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Remember, if you don't know which way to go in this old world, commit your ways unto the Lord. Trust also in Him, and He'll bring it to pass. We'll see you later.